Welcome back, everyone. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I was raised in a family with 4 moms and 35 kids. We were members of the FLDS Church, which is a polygamous group run by their prophet, Warren Jeffs, who is now serving a life sentence in prison.
I was raised mainstream LDS in Utah. Sam and I have been married for 10 years and have 2 awesome kiddos.
Yes, we do. And today we are here to celebrate Independence Day, 4th of July.
Yes. You know what? We have been, when Sam and I were trying to think of what we should do for this weekend on the channel, I was like, you know what? We need to go back to the OG questions and stuff, because we have done a lot of reality TV lately. We have been reacting to hard to watch shows talking about cults. We have been talking about missing teens, and while that is so important and we're so glad to get the message out there, when we started this channel almost 5 years ago, it was all because we thought it'd be cool to record some of Sam's stories of what it was like for him to grow up in polygamy.
Yes.
And so I told Sam, I was like, why don't we just do a video like how we did in the old days, where I ask you a bunch of questions that people want to know about what it was like growing up in polygamy.
Yeah. And in this case, a little bit about what it was like growing up in the FLDS Church, and did we celebrate the 4th of July, and how did we celebrate the 4th of July?
Yeah. The first question that I feel like everybody asks all the time when it comes to any of the holidays is, which holidays were you allowed to celebrate at all?
So when I was younger, the 4th of July was one of them. But along with the 4th of July, we did celebrate, I know you all were hoping I would say Christmas, but no, not Christmas. We celebrated 4th of July. We also celebrated the 24th of July. And that was a Utah thing only.
For Pioneer Day, for those who don't know, Pioneer Day, the 24th of July, is when they founded Utah.
Exactly. So, yes.
Big holiday.
Yes. We did celebrate Thanksgiving, and we also celebrated, it was not really a holiday, but it was a harvest festival that we put on in the community, and always had just a huge celebration. Community came together with lots of games and food.
Gotcha. Okay, so why don't you celebrate the other holidays? Why don't you celebrate Christmas and Easter?
Well, actually, interestingly, the reason we don't celebrate Christmas and Easter are similar, if not the same reasons, and that is that they don't believe that Jesus was born on December 25th. And they say, why would we celebrate this? It's just a worldly holiday made up for people to go and spend lots of money and give money to the big corporations out there. And that's what it's all about. And it's not even anything about Jesus Christ. That was kind of what we were told, and the reason for not celebrating it. And also Easter. Now, around Easter time, we did talk about the resurrection of Jesus Christ and that.
Oh, okay.
So it was something that was on our mind. We did not believe in all of the, as they would say once again, worldly traditions. However, for some reason...
All fun.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason, worldly traditions when it came to the Thanksgiving celebration was okay during that time for whatever reason. But we did not go egg hunting as a young boy. That never happened. In fact, the first time I went egg hunting was with your family when I was 22, 21, 22?
23.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yes. Okay. 23 years old was my first time doing egg hunts.
And he was very, very competitive. But back to 4th of July. So you guys did celebrate 4th of July. One thing that I think is interesting is the fact that, like, when you hear of the FLDS, you hear, like, problems with the law all the time, right? And so it seems like, since they don't really like the law that much, they don't really like the government that much, but they seem somewhat patriotic at the same time. Can you explain why, like, were the FLDS pretty patriotic people?
Definitely we were. And it's funny, well, not funny, it's interesting because earlier on in the FLDS days, there were members of the FLDS church that did go serve in the military. In fact, my own father served in the military for some time. And it was a lot more common for people from the church. And we also weren't so hidden away and so in our own little bubble back in the day. It became more and more intense and more secluded as time went on. And that's why eventually all holidays were taken away from us by Warren Jeffs. Even the 4th of July and even the harvest festivals and all of the things that were enjoyable and that we enjoyed doing was all taken away eventually. But it got worse and worse because back in the day, it was fairly common for FLDS people to serve in the military in some capacity.
Okay, so they were, and then that got taken away. So overall patriotic, though.
Yes, in fact, waving the American flag high in the air was very common throughout the FLDS community.
Okay. Did the FLDS believe, like I was taught in the mainstream LDS, that part of the reason that made America so great was that it was the chosen land for the church to be restored in, and that like the church wouldn't have been able to be restored in any other country, and that basically America had to be formed in the freedom of religion in the way that it was in order to make that happen. Is that what you guys were told too?
Yes, most certainly. Yes.
Okay.
it was exactly the same thing.
Your kid, most certainly.
Most certainly. But since that idea of we needed to come to America, the United States of America, in order to practice our religion came from the early days of the church, which we also believed in: Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, John Taylor, the first three prophets that the mainstream LDS church believes in. A lot of those ideals were the same in both churches.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you guys celebrate? What did a typical 4th of July morning look like?
Well, so in Short Creek, on the Arizona side, just barely on the Arizona side, there is a park called Cottonwood Park, and it is right in the middle of town, and that is where we would gather to do all of our celebrations. And so for the 4th of July, we would wake up early in the morning. I was in the part of the marching portion of the parade because we were a part of, I don't think I ever played any instruments, but there were people that would play instruments while marching. There were people that were dancing through the parade. There were people that had floats, people that did all sorts of things. Me and some of my brothers, we just marched through the parade, and that was something that we took a lot of pride in. My father would ride a horse waving the American flag through the parade because he was the mayor of Hilldale City, Utah.
I didn't know that he went horseback.
Oh, yes, many times.
Wow.
In fact, that was a very early memory of mine, is watching my father on this, what seemed like a really big horse to a small boy, and riding and looking so majestic. I was very proud of my father, looking up at him, watching him ride those horses. And he was someone that many people, if not all people within the community, looked up to, and had a high calling within the church, was the mayor of the city. So I remember being very proud of him and remembering him through the parade, on his horse. So that was something that also the other mayor of Colorado City, that made up Short Creek, the two cities together, that mayor also would ride a horse through the parade as well.
That's super cool. How big was the parade?
Well,
I mean,
if I went back
now
and saw it, I would probably say, oh, okay, that's a pretty small parade compared to what I've seen. But as a young boy, it seemed like it lasted forever. It never ended.
Especially when you're marching, right?
Yes, well, and we would also, before and after I was marching, I would also sit along the side, and I think we have a picture, maybe we can show that here, of me sitting next to the road just watching the parade. I don't look very excited in that moment. I look very bored, but a lot of good memories, and I do remember they would throw candy and things like that, very traditional, and I just remember it being a lot of fun. That was done, I believe, after breakfast. So we would have breakfast in the park. There were games being played. I remember the really large swings that we'd always swing on. It was just so fun, and such a tight-knit community, all of us having such a great time. I just remember a lot of joyous moments where we, for once or twice a year, we got to just kind of go and be wild and crazy and eat carameled apples and things like that normally we weren't allowed to have.
So all the candy, all the stuff.
Yeah.
And then were there fireworks?
Yes, at the end of the day, you know what? Whoa, hold on a minute here. I skipped a very important step.
I'm holding on.
Yes, stay right here. Don't go anywhere. So in the morning, how we were woken up in the morning actually was to the sound of sirens. That is how on the 4th of July we were woken up.
Really?
Yep. So the fire truck or the fire department would drive their fire trucks through town, blaring the sirens, waking everyone up. And that was our cue. Okay. I think it was about 5 or 6 in the morning when they started doing that.
But the cue that it was time to go get ready
for
the parade.
Time to get up and get celebrating.
Oh,
yes.
That's awesome.
And so I remember as a very young boy being terrified of the sirens, but it didn't take long before it was just a very good time, good memories, and everyone knew that it was time to wake up and celebrate. So a lot of really good fun for sure. And that was how the day started.
Okay.
And then, yes, at the end of the day, also the fire department put on an amazing firework display. And all of us from the community would gather up near and around the meeting house that still stands today, the large meeting house there in town, and watch the fireworks. We would drive our cars up there, and then we would just get out of the car and sit around or sit in the back of a truck, whatever we could sit on, and just sit and watch and enjoy the fireworks. So it was at least from what I remember, it was a really good fireworks show as well. It lasted a long time.
Yeah. About how old were you when they stopped doing the celebrations?
Oh
The 4th
man,
of
let's
July.
see here. I would have been in my teenage years. I don't recall, maybe 14 years old.
Do you remember what they told you as to why they had to stop?
Yeah, well, it was just Warren Jeffs said that the Lord's people were becoming too worldly and that we weren't supposed to focus on fun things. In fact, I don't want you to even use the word fun, he said. If you are enjoying something, you can say this is enjoyable. And so it was just the word fun and everything about the idea of just having a good time as a community was taken away. The zoo was shut down. All of the holidays and things were shut down. All of the things that, in my opinion, made the community a good place to live were taken away. And I know that those that within the FLDS church would hear me say that and say, oh, this worldly guy just thinking of all of these things that aren't important in this life. Really, we just got to focus on serving the Lord, doing what he asks us to do, and then eventually we will have all the fun and freedom and joy in the next life. Now, that just doesn't sound, that sounds so wrong to me now from the outside looking in. But that's just the mentality we had. And so we went with it. We said, yes, okay, that makes sense. If the Lord says that we are to not have any fun anymore, then we shall go to work, right? So it was very sad. I do remember thinking I did not like all of those things taken away. And we felt it in the community. It was just like something was missing. So many people didn't seem as happy anymore, and that's about the same time when a lot of secrecy started happening as well. And so it went from this really tight-knit, really close, happy community to completely the opposite.
Yeah. Well, good news is that they did start those back up again.
Not under Warren Jeffs' command, though. This is people now that have moved back to the community that no longer believe in Warren Jeffs that do celebrate now, which makes me very happy.
Yes. When Sam and I first got married, actually, I'll have to put some pictures. We would take our little girl out there for 4th of July. It was super fun. They had the train going.
Yeah.
I remember the breakfast, and Sam said it was a lot. Man, it was a lot like what you remembered when you were little. Although I remember you saying that they had kicked up a notch the parade.
The parade had changed for sure. But I don't know that it was any longer than it was. It was just very different than it used to be. Yeah. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Just in general, the community looks very different than it once did.
Yeah, but it was cool to get to go back and to be able to experience some Short Creek 4th of July's myself. It was a good time until we moved further away. And now it's so far away.
Now it's hard to get there for sure. And then a lot of times we have family coming to us, which makes it even more difficult to go visit. But we do want to make it out there again. We're always invited. People always reach out to us. Are you going to be there this year?
Well,
and for those of you that have reached out, we are so sorry. We wish we could. We really do. It's always fun to see so many familiar faces.
Yes. And speaking of familiar faces as well, there is like nothing cuter and more fun than going around and having lots of these little cute old ladies come up and be like, whose son are you? And then Sam would say who his parents were, and then they would be like, I am and they would tell them how they were related. And it was like every single person in the park. Yeah. It was adorable. And it was like, as we kept going around, every single person, we ended up being able to pinpoint like how he was related to basically everyone. So it's a lot of fun, typical small town celebration, which, like I said, I was just happy I got to have a couple years to get to see a little bit into your childhood.
Yeah. Yes, it was a great time. And I am just grateful that I can say, because so many FLDS people that were born into the church long after I was cannot say that they had the childhood where they were able to come together as a community and celebrate. The community did not celebrate for so many years. So many people are moving back now and building it back up and starting these celebrations and things, but for a while there, it just silence.
Yeah. Well, to all of you, we hope that you are out there celebrating the 4th of July. We hope you have a wonderful and safe 4th of July weekend. We are so grateful for all of you and grateful that you have been on this journey with us, learning more of what it was like for Sam to grow up in polygamy.
Yes, thank you all so much for hanging out with us, and happy 4th of July.
Talk to y'all soon.